You see them on just about every one of our weathercasts, views of clouds and weather systems taken from satellites. This week, the next in a series of weather satellites will be launched in Florida, and the University of Wisconsin here in Madison played a big part in their development.
The UW has been involved in this since the very, very beginning. I almost think before the beginning is the right way to put this.
Meteorologists call them our weather eyes in the sky, and the GOES-T satellite will provide continuous surveillance of the Pacific Ocean and the western half of the country from 22,300 miles in space. But the journey to orbit began in part right here in Madison. Professor Tristan L'Ecuyer explains how it all began.
Werner Sumi, professor here at UW, was watching a football game. And in fact, he was watching a Green Bay Packers football game, watched the instant replay, and thought, what if we could actually make a replay of the weather?
From this idea over a half-century ago, when spaceflight was in its infancy, with the help of scientists and engineers at the UW, the first weather satellites were developed. And each new satellite has added sensors to monitor the atmosphere, much of which was imagined and developed a long time before this week's launch.
These satellites typically have a lifetime of about 10 years, which means you need to be thinking about the next one before you launch the current one. And I guess if I can extrapolate a little bit off of that, so researchers in this building now and at the University of Wisconsin are already working on the concepts for the satellites that will be launched in the 2030s.
This satellite will be critical in helping forecast the weather across the country.
Importantly, the Goes to West satellite covers the Pacific Ocean. And since a lot of our weather comes from the west, we actually get to track weather systems coming off of the Pacific Ocean onshore into the U.S.
Combined with the GOES-East satellite, it's possible to take pictures of cloud development as often as every 30 seconds, providing critical weather data over hurricanes at sea, severe thunderstorms that could spawn tornadoes, or even bands of heavy snow within winter storms. And it monitors more than clouds.
A really new capability of this series of GOES satellites is the ability to measure lightning from space. So the GOES satellites now can map lightning flashes, individual lightning flashes across the whole U.S.
It can also be used for anything that can be monitored from space, such as wildfires in uninhabited forests.
In fact, I think now with the satellite data, we've demonstrated that we can actually warn people of fires long before spotters can even see smoke coming from the fires on the ground.
And since we have weather data going back to the 1960s from these satellites, they can even help monitor how the climate is changing.
We get the combination of this really wide picture view, this full disk view, and we get observations at all times of day.